Hi. So, if you guys are new here, I make a bunch of videos about basically how to use AI to get better at the skills that I think will matter in the very near future and also right now, just to make sure we're not all becoming severely underskilled. So, one of the things that has changed recently is that SaaS is really taking a drop because you can now build custom software specifically bespoke to your exact needs using things like Claude Code. So I'll give you an example. I recently built a productivity app. This took me about a day. And what it is I'll show it to you right now. It is a it's an app that is probably the closest thing I have found to productivity apps that all right, so this is it. So you see I have today, which is like my list for today. I can add a maximum of three things here because I have a rule of these are the core things, right? And you can add maximum of three additional tasks. I have sessions here. I have a timeline, plan for tomorrow so I can create plans, and I have settings here. So I'm currently running on Olama, which is a local model. And the whole idea behind the app is that I can, for example, go back to yesterday and I can actually see what my entire day was. So when you start a session with Quick Start, the app will every 30 minutes come in and take a screenshot of your screen and ask you what you're working on. So I said I'm working on this, and it categorized that under workflow for Abdul, which was part of my to-do list yesterday. So every time it takes a screenshot, it's gonna ask you what you're doing, and then you reply what you're doing, and it logs it, categorizes it based on the three things that you have scheduled for today. Now, the reason I did this is because I struggle a lot with when I'm working on something, I tend to go down different rabbit holes, and it's like fake productivity because I'm not actually doing work, right? So, for example, during this build here, right, during this UI build here for Divine, I actually ended up going into anti-gravity and exploring the MCP that they have for NA10 to try and like see what it's capable of doing, which is good, a good thing to know, but it had nothing to do with what I was supposed to be doing. And so when the screenshot came, I was like, oh God, I'm supposed to log back in. So I logged back in and I managed to finish up the flow. So this is the great thing with the app, and it's specifically to solve my personal problem with productivity. Now, the thing is, the thing is that when I built it, there was a lot of buggy stuff that I had to fix, and it became a sort of a process. So as you can see, I had started building it here in Claude Code, and I also moved over to anti-gravity, right? So I moved over to anti-gravity here to do some more editing with it. And what I realized is that there's a system for you to be able to create repeatably functional software without writing any code. And that is pretty much so what I turned into the it's called the Claude Code Blueprint. Okay, so it's called the Claude Code Blueprint. Here it is. So it's these six files that you drop into your folder, and before you build, you tell it to read and understand all these files and ask me what you need to in order to populate the files. So we're gonna go through it today. We're gonna build a fresh app. We're gonna do it from start to finish in 30 minutes. We're gonna use the system which is in the description, and I'm gonna show you why it's so powerful. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna go here is make a new folder, and I'm gonna call this app my goal tracking dashboard. Okay. Now, you need to have Claude Code already installed. The way you do it is very easy. You just need to open Google Chrome. You just have to go to this link of claude.com/download and download the desktop version of Claude Code. But I have a video on how you can do it for free, which I made about 2 or 3 days ago. So you can go and find that if you want to run Claude Code for free. But you don't get the power of like the new Opus model. All right, cool. So we'll open a new session. We're going to choose a different folder for the app, and I'm going to choose the goal tracking dashboard. Okay. Now I'm going to go into that. and I'm gonna grab my Claude Code blueprint folder, okay? And I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna paste it in. So now we have this, okay? Actually, you know what we should do? We should take these out of this folder and just put them in the root. So I can remove that. All right, so we'll have these here. And now I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna tell it to go ahead and read the 6MD files in the root of this folder. Okay, so we'll send this off. I'm using Opus 4.6, which is very capable, but it consumes faster than other models. So I think I'll switch to Sonnet 4.6, for example. You could use that. This part is not exactly going to be very code heavy. It's going to be more written in English because we're not going to have to give it any code. I'm going to use 4.6, but I will switch to Opus when we decide to actually start coding out and have it write all the code for us. So as you can see, it's currently checking all of these 6 files. Now, each of these files defines an extremely important part of the application that you want to build. And so what happens is it also has instruction paragraphs at the top. So it reads it and it knows what each file is for, and it's going to rewrite the file based on our answers to make it very specific to the app. Now, it's all already in the description, so you can grab it all from there. All right, as you can see, it says I've read all 6 blueprint files are all empty waiting to be filled. The process is sequential. So CloudMD first, and the others will build on it. So let me ask you the question here to prompt CloudMD. I'll group them up to keep it efficient. All right. In plain language, what pain does this solve? Okay. So what I'll do for the problem here, what does this solve? Well, I have 3 major goals right now, and it is extremely motivating to see my progress metrically defined. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna answer these questions, and we'll be back when I do that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've given it the answers to the questions. So basically, I think that it's about getting lost in my to-do list. I need a visual dashboard to connect my macro goals and my actions, making it hard to see what I'm doing and what I'm not doing well is the current problem. All right, so I'm gonna send this. Okay, and what I want to do actually is I want to show you if we take a look at this folder, looking at Claude.md, currently is empty, right? Nothing is there yet based on our answers, but it's gonna go ahead and populate that file with this, and it's gonna format it for us, and then it's gonna go through file 2, then 3, 4, 5, and the last one will be 6. And so basically every time you answer its questions, see it says let me craft Claude.md now and read it back to you before we move forward. Every time you answer the questions that it's going to ask you for all 6 of these different project descriptions, the markdown files, you will literally be able to just answer them in all in English and have a functioning application, right? Without having to spend hours on debugging. All right, so here we have it. So it says that it's going to change these certain things. I'm just going to say always allow for this session. So one thing I want to mention is this platform tech part. You don't have to actually know this. So what I did was I literally asked Claude, I said, what would be the best way to do this tech-wise? I'm not techie, I don't know. What would be the best way? And it spat this out. So even that, you don't need to worry about actually being able to do that. Here's what I wrote into Claude.md. Okay. So pretty much once you've gone ahead and you've answered all of its questions and you've discussed back and forth with it and you've answered everything that it had to ask you, you're then able to pretty much just say, okay, start and let me know when the app is ready and functional. Okay, so that's the main idea, the main goal behind this whole thing is that I wanted to make it as easy as possible for anybody who's just getting started to simply drop these 6 files in their root folder, go through a conversation with Claude, and end up with a fully functional app. So we'll look at the app when it's done, but make sure you actually answer all of the questions that Claude asks you based on the 6 files that you give it, right, which are already in the description. All right, so it seems to be, I'm gonna allow this npm run dev, which will be the actual starting. I'll allow that. So it's open on this local host, so let's open that here. So you can see we've got dashboard, we've got goals, no active goals, habits, review. So if I say create my first goal, new goal, I'm gonna say, let's say first class. I'm gonna say graduate with first class honors in all my modules. Target metric 90%, or let's say 3.9 GPA. This will be by 2027 July, I think 14th. Create goal. First class, graduate with this milestone. Finish year 2 with first class. I'll say get 80% in SCGP and 90% in FYP. All right, daily habits. SCGP progress, FYP planning. Okay, I'm interested to see how this looks. Oh, manage goals, launch my SaaS business first class. These are active. Habits. So I can check if okay, hold on. So if I go to dashboard and let's say I check off SCGP progress, we have a 0-day streak. Sorry. Milestone progress is 0 out of 3. And if I tick these off, is how we get there. Oh, this is today's habits. I see. Well, isn't that crazy? Like, a couple of questions. Have not done uni work in a while. Save that review. So anyways, now that you get the idea about how it works, what we're going to do is we're going to go super in depth. We're going to build an entirely new one. And this time, I'm going to take you through how to answer the questions such that you end up with a extremely effective and functional app without writing a single line of code. So let's run it again because what we want to see is how well the database is. Hey, the database is functional. First class, habits, checked it off. Review, still there. Dashboard, perfect. The app only files written after the server started where memory and neither are source files. The app is rendering correctly, no issues. Perfect. So imagine that's an extremely simple version. And if you wanted a better, bigger, more powerful version, you don't have to worry about having to go in there and reprompt it or do anything like that. You open a new project, you drop in the 6 files, you tell it, ask me the questions, and before you know it, you have a functioning app. Right? Before you know it, you have a functioning app. So this is done with very lazy prompting, right? So in the next video, we're going to go super in depth on how to answer the questions so well that Claude's going to ask you so that you can build something that you wildly imagine as not being possible, but with the right answers to the questions, the 6 files, you will be able to do it. So that will be the next one. This was just a quick demo of how to get it done.